23 years ago, there was an individual in the room who had a particular vision for an alternative university that was relevant and distinct and should approach education in a very different way. Jerry Kelly is with us this morning to be able to give out the Kelly Teaching Awards, but part of that is to reflect what he believed very importantly is that teaching should be an integral part of this institution, that we should be known as an institution that focuses on teaching. But as you've seen as well, there's research and there's learning, which is an integral part of that. And I think at times, when you leave the presidency, sometimes you wonder whether there's anybody's going to remember that you've been there or that you had any impact. And you hope it does. You hope that people can come along and then take it to different and different places. I think just having this the presentation on the learning and teaching model from Steve can reassure Jerry that we haven't lost. There's been an embedded kind of sense of who we are as an institution that's reflected in what we continue to do, and actually we do it quite well. We're really good at being an innovative institution that's really becoming increasingly a standard for where post-secondary education should go in the future. So, Jerry, thank you for your leadership in getting us started. There isn't life after being a president, obviously, and you can hang around occasionally and do awards or something like that. I'm looking forward to that, but I think you need to know that we are indebted for the origin and the confidence you had in this institution to start us. So, good.
Thanks very much, Ellen. That was very kind of you. I really appreciate it. And I'm delighted to be here today to celebrate the role of teaching at Royal Roads with you. As I listened to the presentations this morning, first of all, the activities involved with the Kit Kats and the Smarties and the POS and so on are perfect example of outstanding teaching and how a teacher sets the stage in their classroom. I just got back from Montreal last night, and 3 things I was involved in down there. One was kids that I taught 50 years ago decided to have a kind of reunion. As a matter of fact, one of them flew out here to Victoria to make sure that I, in fact, was going to go. But the neat thing is that I still call them kids. Saturday night at a party that we had, I'm saying, call me Jerry. No, Mr. Kelly, or Coach. So, but the other things that we were doing were visiting my old alma mater, McGill University and Dawson College. You mentioned about pot. Dawson College started in the late 60s. This was the flower power movement and so on. We had draft dodgers from across the U.S. coming up to Montreal and elsewhere in Canada. But I remember clearly, we were chatting about it when I was at Dawson, is that the RCMP came in the front door. One of the people in the registrar's office went out the back door. Evidently they were... But the other thing I did in Montreal is I was able to make contact with Bernard Shapiro. Shapiro was the chair of the committee, 3 presidents that spent a week here in 1999 to determine whether or not Royal Roads would qualify to become a member of the Association of Universities and Colleges of Canada. And so it was, I'm in the process of working towards writing up the early history of Royal Roads, and I wanted to quote what Shapiro told me, and I mentioned that earlier on at one of these sessions, but I did get a hold of him, and he said, the thing that I remember most is that I wanted to come to Royal Roads because I hear so much about jargon, about the way curriculum is designed and the emphasis on teaching and being learner-centered and all of this stuff, online learning. He says it mostly was jargon in the late 90s at most universities. So I wanted to come here and see what you guys were doing. Anyhow, the bottom line is, and he was a very, very polished educator himself, he said, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, what you say you're doing. He said, it's probably, frankly, the only university in Canada that, in fact, is doing this. We should be doing the same thing at McGill. As much as I like McGill as my alma mater, he said, but it would take us 100 years to turn it around, to put the primary emphasis on students and learning and teaching at the university. He said, you folks are doing it in spades. So he said, I hope that you're continuing to maintain that philosophy, that whole approach to the existence of Royal Roads in the first place. So one of the things I was just saying to Steve is that I'm going to send him a copy of the teaching learning model, because I know he will just love it. Teaching is undervalued. Most people don't realize how difficult it is. I work with Junior Achievement, the organization where business people come into schools and so on and help children develop business projects. And usually the business people are invited, come and spend a day in the classroom in our elementary school, junior high school, and every one of them comes out of there shaking their head. They had no idea how hard it was, what was involved, and how incredibly talented teachers are who can work with children, spin a web and so on, and all of a sudden capture the imagination of children and help them to learn. So it's a profession that I'm proud to be associated with, and I'm proud to be here today associating with you people who are outstanding teachers. I could go on and on. My wife is not here to signal me about, she's got this signal, I'm not sure what that means. And I'm sure you also know, and Catherine, you'll help me on this, you probably know what that signal means. So, but to go on with the teaching awards, as you know, the idea behind the teaching awards is not to select a salesman of the year or mechanic of the month, but to identify people who are outstanding teachers who will represent all of the outstanding teachers at Royal Roads. And we have 4 categories. I think you've all seen this in the profiles and so on in Crossroads, so I won't go into them in detail, but let me start with the first category, an Outstanding Workshop Facilitation Award. To my mind, where this is very important, these are continuing education programs. Looking at the research in the development of Royal Roads in the first place, it's very interesting to note that the champions for the Royal Roads model were continuing educators. Nick Rubidge with the Department of Advanced Education was a PhD in continuing education. Catherine Vertisi, who was continuing education director at UBC, was another person. Both of them were instrumental. Rubidge in terms of driving the Royal Roads model through government and so on, and Versi was part of a 3-person panel that developed the original philosophy, guidelines, and so on, the underpinnings that led to the Royal Roads University Act. So there's a direct connection between continuing education. The 2 people who are receiving this award today are both also graduates of our master's program in leadership and training, Kathy and Ed McKenzie, please. And we would invite each recipient to make a few comments about the philosophy underlying their approach to teaching.
Thanks very much. There's 2 of us speaking, so we have to be, really brief. and we will try to do that. Thanks very much, Jerry. One of the things that Kathy and I often do when we're doing a workshop to get the ball rolling is we'll ask people to introduce themselves and then share a little-known fact about themselves. And there's a little-known fact about Jerry and myself. We're part of a small select group of poker pals, and I'm really delighted that after giving you a lot of my chips over the years, I'm actually getting something back, so thank you. Appreciate that. This is a privileged environment, as Alan said, and we are very privileged to do this kind of work. This very room, actually, is where, you know, as master's students, we danced, we worked, we laughed, we cried, and we said tearful goodbyes. And then, years later, in this very room, with 100 civil servants from the BC government, we didn't dance, but we learned, we laughed, and we cried, in a good way. So it's really neat to be back here. As Asma said, I feel very full of gratitude in this moment. I do have a question for the group. How many people here have been part of our Developing Leadership Impact program? Look at those hands. There's a lot of people, and we just love the fact that Royal Roads encourages ongoing professional development, and you send these people to our program and other programs, I'm sure. So we look forward to having more Royal Roads people in our program in December. We are unique because we made a decision close to 20 years ago to blend our personal and professional lives. And we live together, we work together, we've raised two wonderful children who we'd like to thank, Ryan and Alison, for their ongoing support. So we call ourselves unique, but a lot of our friends in the beginning had other words, a little more colorful, like, you've got to be crazy, and if it were me, I would kill my spouse. So I'm happy to report that after 20 years, we've not killed each other. We're heading toward our 45th wedding anniversary in March, so we're very proud of that. Thank you. And lastly, and I'll have Kathy will take the mic after me. I just want to thank a couple of people, or some people. First and foremost, it would be Zoe McLeod and her, it's unexpected, get a little choked up, and her amazing, amazing team in professional and continuing studies. They're all amazing, but I'd like to single out Nissa Bell, who really got the ball rolling for this nomination, and you did a lot of work on our behalf. Thank you, Nissa. We really appreciate it. I could go on and on. We've learned so much from so many people at Royal Roads, but one person I'd like to single out, he's not here, but he's part of the Poker Pal contingent, and that would be Graham Dixon. He's a friend, colleague, mentor, and boy, he, at his age, is a little older than I am. He's going strong, and he still believes passionately in leadership and in Royal Roads University, and I have a great debt to Graham Dixon. So if he were here, I would thank him personally. I'd just like to thank him in front of the group. Thanks.
How come he gets to go first? Anyway, he's got the radio voice. Just like to echo the thanks to Zoe and the team, many of whom are here. You're not supposed to get emotional before I speak because I'm way worse than you. And I'd like to thank, when I did my master's degree in leadership and training in 1998, I'd like to thank Tammy Dewar and Gail Gibson, who is no longer with us. We miss Gail. And Ann Schultz, all for being mentors and strong, amazing women. So, when I think back 20 years ago, Jerry, you talked about the beginnings of the program. We had a 5-week residency in the first year, and then a 5-week residency in the second year. I know that's daunting to many of you, but honestly, it was the most transformative, amazing time of my life. I've had many careers. I've been an emergency nurse. I've been a coroner. I've worked in many different venues. I keep changing careers, but I landed in teaching and educating and creating space for learning. And all of those other careers came with me. So I'd like to thank the people along my journeys who have just supported my learning. And basically, when we do our programs, Ed and I together, it's about co-creating. So thanks, Steve, for, I just say ditto to everything that you talked about there. And we focus on values and personal vision. And finally, we landed in the niche that just feels right and really works for us. And the people that we come into our programs give so much back to us. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you. Thanks for the award. We're very, very honored.
The next award is the Team Teaching Award, and as you know, in the teaching and learning document, it focuses on team teaching as one of the key elements. This person teaches online. I'm sorry, I'm missing out on that. Back up, reverse. This Team Teaching Award goes to Hong Fu and Doug Hamilton, and they're both with the School of Education and Technology. One thing I might note is that in the profile, it mentioned that they're able to carry this program off with great success in spite of the fact that they're speaking in two different languages. Knowing Doug and knowing Royal Roads, that in fact I would say is probably not in spite, but it was capitalizing and embellishing the experience, learning experience for people because of the two different languages. So please come forward, Hung Fu and Doug Hamilton, the Team Teaching Award.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank Jerry for his ongoing support for the series of awards. I think it's one of those things that also contributes to the celebration of our teaching culture, and it's something that we've had for so long, and I'm really thankful for your continuing support for it. Studying teams is an integral part of the learning experience of almost all students at Royal Roads. And I think it's highly appropriate that the Kelly Award Committee, I think it was 3 years ago, decided to add this particular category to its suite of Kelly Awards. RRU is an institution that takes team learning very seriously. Almost all of our students, at some point in their time with Royal Roads, are involved in team learning. And some will find those experiences really, really meaningful. I'm sure everybody finds them meaningful. Sometimes, of course, they're challenging as well. But I think it's only reasonable that our faculty members should strive to model for our students the kinds of high-performing and productive teamwork that we can do. To give you a bit of background about our work together, Dr. Fu and I both work with both BC-trained and Chinese-trained educational leaders in a dual language version of our MA in Educational Leadership. And our learners are professionals who are studying and in many cases working together side by side in their own schools despite differences in language, culture, and background. And our program features an intercultural learning environment that's often dynamic and complex, and sometimes quite chaotic. One of the key working principles for us is to create and sustain a highly inclusive learning environment. And I think the other main working principle for us is to create a safe place for taking risks, because we know that when learners and faculty stretch themselves, they become more open to ideas, behaviors, and new actions. One example of Hong and my recent effort was to introduce a 2-day design thinking laboratory in the middle of one of our residences in Dalian, China. And this lab was focused on creating creative thinking to solve complex and emerging current school-based and system-wide problems. And it was the first time that Hong and I had designed a fully integrated, immersive, complex, but also emergent set of learning activities with this particular cohort. So not surprisingly, it involved a lot of thinking on our feet and much ongoing improvisation as we tried to stay one step ahead of our learners, which is sometimes a challenge. So when we look back at the photos of that session, we see learners actively and excitedly engaged together, supporting one another, translating on the fly with each other, building on each other's ideas, despite significant cultural and language differences, as well as a lack of experience with this new mode of learning called design thinking. But I think what made this session successful was everyone's openness, not just faculty's openness, but also our learners' openness to try something really new and to turn those insights into new opportunities for professional growth. I think both Hong and I will remember this process as a highlight of our experience with this cohort of learners because it represented everything magical about learning at Royal Roads and everything magical about learning within a team at Royal Roads. And although Hong and I are grateful recipients of this particular award, we believe that this award draws attention to a larger sense of team. And although we're being recognized, I think it's really important that we also recognize how many other groups of staff and faculty also touch the hearts of the learners that we work with. And in particular, our wonderful staff in the School of Education and Technology, our colleagues in CTET, the library, the International Collaboration and Development Department, and other support services at Royal Roads. We want to thank you for all the dedicated work that you've done to make this unique and unusual program a success here at Royal Roads, and to make this award possible. So it really does take a whole university to graduate learners ready to make positive differences in their own lives and in the lives of others. So thank you to all of you.
Just a few more words about this team teaching. I really appreciate the opportunity to do team teaching because team teaching is so valuable. For the program, it enables cross-course connection, and which really makes an organic program. So in the end, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And for the instructors and students, team teaching actually creates conditions for ideas to cross-pollinate, and so that opens up more spaces for teaching and learning. So thank you.
The new Teacher Award. What's fascinating about this award is that this person is teaching through online learning. I'm reminded of the first master's program in leadership here, and Jerry Dixon, Jerry Dixon was telling me, Dixon, Steve? That when they finished their first 5 months or 5 weeks on campus, that very few of the learners even had computers at home. So it was exciting time, and here we are now presenting an award to a person who is teaching online. Call on for the new teacher award, Yiffy Wang, please. We have Yiffy on video.
Good morning, everyone. I'm extremely honored to be receiving such an important award, the Kelly New Teacher Award. I'm grateful for the recognition I have received for my teaching because I'm very sure that every other nominee for this award was as capable of winning this award. I have faced several challenges on my way here, but each one of them has only strengthened me to make me the person I am today. Winning this award would not have been possible without the inspiration I have received from my seniors and my colleagues, for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself and perform better at each stage. I sincerely thank each one of you for helping me reach a stage where I can proudly hold up this award as a mark of my achievement. I also promise to only get better at my teaching and my work so that you can see me here for more such awards. Thank you very much.
More research has to be done on the history of Railroad's online learning. I think that in the mid-90s, when Railroad's piloted online learning, that some of the more recognized institutions in the world, the British Open University, Athabasca University, were by and large still pen and pencil delivered by mail. And Royal Roads broke the ice in that whole area of distributed distance learning. The final award, Outstanding Teacher Award, is, again, this person is an amazing teacher. She's an associate faculty in the School of Business and School of Environment and Sustainability. She talks about her memorable learning experience of being in practical activities presented with humor, analogy, and stories. Please welcome Outstanding Teacher Award to Alison Morgan. Alison. I'll hold that for you.
Thank you so much. It was only when the photos came up I realized I'd forgotten to send mine in. Thank you very much, Dr. Kelly, and all the people who made this possible. I had a really special experience with the class that nominated me for this, and you're all in education, so I just really like to tell you this because you care about education, and how cool is it when you have these experiences that just don't come along very often. So normally I teach in environmental science, and I'm a biologist, and it's pretty much expected that you do biology, but when the business school decided to go from global business to business and sustainability, I got invited to do an ecology course to upfront business. Oh boy. Here's the chance to give the stump speech of your life. Because all of a sudden, you think about business and ecology, and so often they're at odds. And they don't need to be. There are, so many business opportunities in doing the right thing ecologically, but you just have to mesh that. And so I had the chance to speak to people who didn't necessarily already believe what I believed. And it was an international crowd, so this was an international chance. And so I was able to design my dream course. And Todd Dixon, who is the program head, said to me, I want them to have empathy for nature, and I want them to get out and do things. Really? Okay, let's do it. And so I was designing it, and And I really struggled with how to level the playing field language-wise. And Todd came up with this idea. He said, well, why don't you try infographics for their assignments for all the laboratories they did? Oh, great, I'll do that. I had no idea. What happened was I got works of art back. I mean, tear-jerkingly beautiful works of art. When you create art, you make an emotional connection. So with every assignment, they were making a deeper and deeper emotional connection to the material. Completely unexpected. Wow, I learned something huge. You said we learn things when we teach? Massively. And it was these ideas. And colleagues, both faculty and staff, my friends, my family, everybody chipped in because they knew how important this was. And friends would help host and guiding labs, so the students got a chance to speak to real people working in the field. And, friends would help, some of the staff helped with just moving people around so that intimate experience wasn't being lost. A family would send in the latest on the science wire, so everything was terribly immediate. Everybody cared about this course that I cared about. And it was wonderful. One friend actually went so far as to collect owl pellets for me, bake them in her barbecue to make them biologically safe, so the students could do a food web and look at exotoxicology effects of the way what happens when we have chemicals as rodenticides and how that messes up with the food webs and the systems. Everybody, but really, why we're all here is the students. And this was really interesting because they changed that program over. So some students came in to do business and sustainability, but some of them weren't ready for that. And so I was a little bit worried when, at the beginning, biology has nothing to do with business, and we shouldn't have to go outside. Oh, okay, well, let's just try this. And they did, and they came to love it, and they became so engaged and found the world beautiful here, which it is. And the best thing was, at the end, it was, they thanked me. They thanked me, they said, we had no idea. Thank you so much. We had no idea. This is so important. Oh, wow, I'd won. This was just the best thing. I'd had the best teaching arc ever in my life. Fabulous. And then the icing on the cake came, a few months later. I thought they'd forgotten about me. And this nomination letter, beautiful. They thought, they cared. We are creating caring students. They care about what they're doing. They're engaged. And, they nominated me, but there's not one person in the university isn't really here about educating and helping students get better and learn things. So, they made that happen for me, and I was more than touched, and I appreciate being chosen by the committee and so on. But it is, as everybody said, it was a magical experience, but it's also, we're representing everybody. So our engagement, all that kind of stuff, it really works, it really matters. And I'm very thankful for having an experience where I learned so much from my students. And I'm so excited that these are people that are going out and going to make a difference in the world. So thank you very much to everybody, and thank you so much to my students. They were fabulous.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you to everybody that makes the work of people like Alison so successful here at Royal Roads. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. What has value, what is important, are things we celebrate. If they don't have prepared to celebrate what's important, then sometimes we won't end up with recognize it's important. So congratulations to the Kelly Award winners for this year, and congratulations to those who are nominated. Great opportunity for us to be inspired to do a better job. Can we give a round of applause to everybody that... All right. Thank you for participating today and for all of the exciting things that we're doing and the exciting things going forward. Have a great fall. Thank you.